Good afternoon. Welcome to SecureNow's webinar for doctors. This is Abhishek Bondia here. I'm a co-founder of SecureNow Insurance Broker. SecureNow had organized a webinar for health insurance claims on 11th of May. Thank you for a very warm response to that webinar. Subsequent to that, we received several follow-up queries, specifically coming from doctors about COVID-related claims for doctors and the medical community at large. And that is why we decided to organize this specific webinar for the medical community and doctors in specific to address queries and clarifications that they may have about various kind of claims related to COVID. Just to give you some sense of our expertise in this field, as an insurance broker today, SecureNow has knowledge partnership with over 20 medical associations across the country, including very large ones like the Association of Health Providers of India and the Delhi Medical Association. We serve close to 10,000 doctors, helping them buy various kind of insurances, including professional indemnity, health insurance, life insurance, and other personal insurances that they may want. We also serve close to 100 medical establishments, helping them buy covers for their firm, protecting their staff and their assets. Over the course of the next 1 hour, we'll try to bring this expertise to bear and address specific queries that doctors may have about various insurance claims. On the video itself, you have an option to enter questions, which is visible to me live, and I can answer that one by one. The first question I have is from Pooja Singh. Pooja says that her brother-in-law is a doctor in CRPF and is exposed to COVID. Apart from government insurance scheme for doctors, are there other insurance or insurer that covers doctors for COVID? So Pooja, thank you for asking this question, and give our regards to your brother for for his service. So for doctors, the same set of insurances are available as the general public. So doctors can buy a health insurance, a life insurance, a personal accident policy, which will help them take care of their own well-being and also provide financial security to family members. When it comes to health insurance, all health insurance plans in the country today are open for doctors as well. They can buy, any doctor can buy a health insurance plan offered in the market, and there are no specific exclusions for the medical profession in our regular health insurance plan. So in case, Pooja, your brother-in-law is looking for a health insurance plan for himself and his family, he can very well buy it. Similarly, if you would want to protect himself and take care of the financial security of his family through a life insurance policy, in some cases we have seen COVID could also become fatal. So that life insurance option is also available for your brother. Again, all insurance companies offer life insurance plans to doctors, and your brother-in-law can also apply for it. Now, specifically, when you talk about COVID-related plans, only a few insurers today offer COVID policies, which are COVID-specific policies wherein, in case somebody gets diagnosed with COVID, the benefits get triggered. Unfortunately, because the number of plans are few and the disease is still evolving, in most cases, insurance companies have put medical practitioners under their decline list. So in case you are a medical practitioner, you will not be able to buy a COVID-specific plan. However, you can buy a regular health insurance plan and get covered for COVID within that. I must tell you that in a regular health insurance plan, there is a waiting period of generally 30 days. For the first 30 days, COVID won't be covered. But after that, COVID also gets covered under the regular health insurance plan. Moving on, the next question is from Chandan Dang. He asks, There are a number of COVID plans available. What is the basic difference to watch out for? Excellent question, Chandan. As I just said, that there are only a few insurers that offer COVID plans today. However, uh, within that there is a lot of difference. The first thing that you have to watch out for is whether the plan is a fixed benefit plan or is it an indemnity plan. Now, the way it works differently is that a fixed benefit plan pays you a lump sum in case you get diagnosed with a covered illness. And in case of an indemnity plan, you get reimbursed for the expenses that you incur once you are diagnosed or once you're treated for that covered ailment. So in case you're looking at a fixed benefit COVID plan, I think there are two things that you have to watch out for. One is what is the trigger to get the lump sum? So the difference that we have seen in the plans is that some plans would say that you have to necessarily get hospitalized for the claim to get triggered, and others would say just a diagnosis of COVID is sufficient. Number one. Number two, that you have to number two thing that you have to watch out for is the waiting period applicable for COVID. Generally, we have seen that insurers are putting a waiting period of at least 15 days. So, COVID, if you're diagnosed with COVID, it has to be after the initial 15-day waiting period. Otherwise, it won't be covered. In the case of indemnity plan, you have to look at the waiting period for sure. The other thing that you should see is what are the kind of restrictions that the plan imposes. For example, are there room rent limits? Are there specific cappings of any kind, or are there exclusions to pre-existing disease? So those are the things that you should watch out for in an indemnity-based COVID plan. Moving on, the next question is from Ved, who asks, which insurers are providing health and COVID-19 insurance to doctors? So Ved, just for the benefit of everyone who just joined in, health insurance plans which are available in the country today are open to doctors too. So any health insurance plan which is available, a medical practitioner can apply for it and get a coverage for it. So you have leading insurers like New India, National Insurance, Oriental, United India on the public sector side, and the leading private sector insurers including ICICI Lombard and HDFC Ergo. All these insurers today provide health insurance plans for doctors. So there is no exclusions for doctors. However, when you come to COVID plans, on the individual doctors, when they want to buy a COVID plan, there are restrictions, and the plans which are available, most of them exclude doctors as a part of the coverage. However, what we have seen is that if there are a group of doctors that come together, either via an association or under the umbrella of a medical establishment, like a hospital or a nursing home, then we are able to structure a group plan for such doctors. So what happens then is that insurers are able to assess that risk a little bit more collectively, right, and then accordingly price it. So in case there are a group of doctors that come together to buy a COVID plan, that is possible. And depending upon what the group size is and what the coverage requirements are, we can structure that with an insurance company. When you talk about individual COVID plan, today insurers are reluctant to issue it to doctors. I must also tell viewers of this webinar is that IRDA has recently come up with regulations where IRDA has asked insurance companies to launch COVID-specific plans. And as that happens, and as more insurance companies launch COVID plans, it is likely that some of them would cover doctors. It may be possible that IRDA may ask insurance companies to compulsorily cover doctors. So we have to still watch out for that. But it is very likely that in the next few weeks, we would have a number of COVID plans, even for individuals, that will be launched in the market. Moving on, the next question is from Gaurav Kumar, who asks, do COVID plans cover hospitalization expenses and OPD expenses both? Excellent question, Gaurav. As we know that a lot of COVID cases are now being treated on an OPD basis rather than requiring hospitalization. So the question is highly pertinent. Um, when you look at COVID plans which are fixed benefit in nature, there you do not have to even get into the argument whether hospitalization or OPD is covered or not, because given the condition, right, of the plan, once the fixed benefit plan is triggered, then you get that lump sum, and that you can use either for OPD treatment or for hospitalization, depending upon what is necessary for you. In case of indemnity plans, most indemnity plans today cover hospitalization expenses. They don't cover much of OPD care. However, what we are seeing now is that some insurance companies, specifically, there's an example of ICICI Lombard, which recently launched a facility for home care, even for COVID, and that they are extending to their customers who have bought health insurance plans from them. So there you can get treatment for at-home care as well. But if I leave that aside, in general, most COVID-specific indemnity plans cover only hospitalization, and they do not cover OPD care. Moving on again, we have a question from Sanket who asks, what happens if a COVID patient dies and the relatives sue the doctor for negligent treatment? Sanket, thank you for raising this question. This is a real issue which is faced by the medical community today. The line of treatment has not evolved per se for COVID, and there is no well established method of treating COVID. So there are situations of fatality, and there are situations where relatives and family members can blame the treating doctor for negligence in case their near ones die. It is very important that doctors, to protect themselves against such eventualities, have a professional indemnity insurance. Now, a professional indemnity insurance for doctors cover defense cost, that is, help them appoint a lawyer who would represent them in the in a court of law, and also in case the court decides against the doctor and holds them accountable for negligence, and if they award a compensation to the patient, then that compensation gets covered under the professional indemnity insurance. So in case if you have a professional indemnity insurance and you are sued for negligence, even for treating COVID, your policy will respond, and you will be able to get a help of a lawyer to respond to any charges or any notice that is being served to you. And in case that case then further goes to the court, the whole expenses to keep the lawyer on board, and in case the judgment is against you, the compensation, everything gets covered under the professional indemnity insurance. So whether or not COVID, professional indemnity insurance is a must for doctors, and even in this situation, even more so. Next, I have a question from Arvind. A person has life insurance, health insurance, with 5 lakh sum assured and critical illness policy. Is it required to take additional COVID policy? Great. So Arvind, very valuable question. 2 questions separately for health and life. If you have a health of 5 lakh sum assured, as it covers any other ailment, it will cover COVID too. Today, if you look at COVID, treatment, it costs on an average about 1.5 lakhs. So from that point of view, 5 lakh may seem sufficient. But in some cases, depending upon the age profile of the individual and the comorbidity conditions, the claim amount is crossing even 10 lakhs, right? So the way you should think about health insurance sum assured is, generally have a sum assured equal to at least one's annual income. And in case if you have any pre-existing condition or general lifestyle disorders, then you should, it is best advised to increase that sum assured. 5 lakh sum assured is the bare minimum that you should have for health insurance, ideally more. Coming to life insurance, now life insurance is a plan for your family members to be protected in case of an untimely death of the insured. The idea is that your family members should be able to maintain their lifestyle in the absence of your recurring income that would have sustained them. So there, the thumb rule is that you should have at least a cover of 10 times of your annual income, and 5 lakh is definitely inadequate. And you should, and that's true for doctors as well. Based upon your earnings for the last year, you should fix a sum assured and accordingly buy it. And I must re-emphasize that COVID is a situation that we're dealing with today. But other than COVID, our other health conditions have not gone away, right? And they exist, plus all the other risks that we live with, whether it is an accidental risk or otherwise, those also remain. So one should think about their health and life insurance a little more holistically than only with keeping COVID in mind. I'm missing one part of Arvind's question, which is around critical illness insurance. Most critical illness policies do not cover COVID. They cover other critical ailments like cancer, heart attack, brain tumor, stroke. Most critical illness plans are fixed benefit plans. So in case you're diagnosed with one of those critical illness, you would get a lump sum amount from that plan. So overlap with COVID, a critical illness policy has its own place that you should consider. Next, I have a question from Manoj, IJ, who asks, what is the criteria for diagnosing COVID? RT-PCR or antigen is enough. There is a 3-week window for getting RT-PCR positive, but later on, will it get negative? Manoj, that's a very valid question. The way all the COVID plans are designed and the way the claim admissibility is defined, you should have got your test done from an authorized laboratory, right? Which is approved by the government and ICMR. So as long as your report comes out positive from one of the government authorized labs, you do not have to worry about the methodology, right? And the outcome of the testing results is incumbent on the lab and not on you as policyholders. It is possible that as insurance companies revise their plans, come up with more comprehensive, or take into account a lot of these eventualities about results turning negative after some time. They may put in requirements for specific test procedures, but as of now, most plans require you to get the testing done from an authorized laboratory without necessarily getting into the procedure. Next question I have from is Karthik Shah, who asks, what is the reason of taking COVID-19 plan if they already have health insurance or GHI? Karthik, very valid question. As I said earlier, that your normal individual health insurance plan as well as your group health insurance plans both cover COVID. So you need not buy a specific COVID plan for COVID line of treatment, because it's already covered under both these plans, in case you're covered by your employer or your individual cover. However, also the point to consider is that generally these plans, the group plan provided by the employer and the individual plan, does not cover OPD expenses. And a large number of COVID cases are being treated on an OPD basis. So that's why a fixed benefit plan makes sense for you for COVID, In case you have both these plans or either of these plans already in place, then what would make sense for you is to buy a fixed benefit COVID plan. Now, in case you don't have either of these plans, in case you don't have an individual health insurance plan or a group health insurance plan, then you can look at an indemnity-based COVID plan as well. That's one reason why you should look at that. The other reason is, in case sum assured in these plans are very low, then you should look at a COVID plan, an indemnity-based COVID plan. So let's say if your employer gives you a health insurance cover of 2 lakh rupees and you don't have a personal health insurance plan, then it is advisable that you buy ideally a normal health insurance plan so that all your other ailments can also get covered. But in case budget is a constraint, then you may look at a COVID plan, which may be more cost effective, but will help you tide through this current situation, current pandemic, and protect you for COVID. Pooja has the next question, who asks, doctors would need PPE, equipment to safeguard themselves. If they have their own clinic and they buy, is this included in the insurance or they have to pay from their pocket? Pooja, unfortunately, this is cost of doing business. So doctors, when they are buying personal protective equipment, it will be paid out of their pocket. No insurance plan would cover it. It is an increased cost that all commercial establishments or even otherwise have to bear, given the new conditions that we have to work in. Sandeep Dubey has the next question, who asks, any coverage plan for doctors having loss of income for post-COVID-19 positive? Sandeep, an excellent question. And I must, say that, if you reflect on the previous answer, where I spoke about COVID fixed benefit plans, one of the advantages of a fixed benefit plan is that even if you don't incur expenses out of pocket, you get the lump sum. Now, some expenses could be direct, the other could be an opportunity cost. Sandeep, what you're referring to is an opportunity cost. That is, in case you're diagnosed and you are out of work for some time, then what happens? That's where a fixed benefit COVID plan could help you. And if someone is diagnosed with COVID, they get a lump sum. Part of that they can use to defray expenses. Part of that could be used to defray opportunity costs because they were not able to go to work because of COVID. The next question is from Manoj, who asks, what health insurance plans cover for personal protective equipment, PPE, at least as an add-on cover? Manoj, this is a highly debatable issue right now, and it's a bone of contention because from hospital side, PPE has come as an additional cost. However, on the health insurance side, generally consumables have been excluded. So PPE, because it falls within the consumables category, most health insurance plans exclude it. The way to get cover for PPE would be through one of the fixed benefit plans, rather than trying to buy it within the indemnity plan. Next, the question I have is from Varun Sharma, who asks, private hospital room rent packages are too high for COVID-19 treatment. Can a normal policy of 3 to 4 lakhs having 2% of room rent enough for private room rent package? Varun, very valid question. A lot of hospitals are known to have increased their rates given the current COVID situation, and a variety of factors that they are taking into account, including lesser occupancy. If you look at normal health insurance plan, which may have a room rent capping, the example that you're giving is of, say, 3 to 4 lakhs sum assured with 2% room rent capping, which is between 6 to 8,000. It may be insufficient. It may be insufficient, especially if you're looking for a private room rent. Even otherwise, in some of the tier one hospital, a private room cost about 8 to 9,000 rupees. So a private room would not be affordable in the plan that you suggested. However, the way I would ask you to look at it is that if you look at most individual plans available in the country today, uh, they have done away with room rent capping, right? So if you take the example of an Optima Restore, it has no room rent capping. If you take the example of complete health insurance, a plan offered by an ICICI, it has no room rent capping. A Max Mupa Health Companion, at a higher sum assurance, it does not have a room rent capping. So this is a good time to relook at your plan. If you do not have an individual plan, you must consider buying an individual health insurance plan. In case your plans have these restrictions, then you should look at porting these plans into a plan with no room rent capping. Also, you could look at buying a top-up plan or a separate plan in case the sum assured is very low. In case your income is, say, above 10 lakhs, right, and you have a sum assured of 3 to 4 lakhs, then you have to buy an incremental. You should be buying an incremental 6-7 lakh rupees of sum assured that you could buy, as a standalone plan, and perhaps either port this plan into a new plan when the policy comes up for renewal, or discontinue that plan. You must note that if you buy a new plan today, it will have a waiting period of at least 30 days to get COVID covered. Some insurers are coming up with the initiative where they are reducing the waiting period to even 15 days for a normal health insurance plan. And these plans may not have a room rent capping. So you could also actively consider these plans for your health insurance needs. The next question I have is from Kajal Singh, who asks, I'm a recent medicine graduate. How important is this cover for people like me? Kajal, any health eventuality, is is today age agnostic, right? So, and it's a little bit more agnostic to the stage of your career. So, if you are a medicine graduate and you are serving patients, then you are as exposed to um, uh, a COVID risk as a 20-year experienced surgeon would be, right? Um, you may be giving different lines of treatment, but given the surroundings, which would be pretty much similar, your risk exposure is is as much. So you must, so all that we discussed for the last half an hour, you must consider that actively, whether it is to buy a separate health insurance for yourself, or it is to buy a professional indemnity insurance for yourself, right? So again, I'm not sure if you were there when I spoke about this, but a professional indemnity insurance covers doctors for litigations against their name, which can help them cover lawyers' fee as well as any compensation awarded by the court. Now, when a patient sues doctors, it is purely at the discretion of patients who they want to sue. Is it a particular doctor? Is it the head of department? Or is it a group of doctors, right? It is not for you or me to determine who the patient should litigate against or not, right? So it is always advisable that you should keep yourself protected, and buy a professional indemnity insurance for yourself. The good news is that at a young age, your premium would be far lower than somebody with 20 years experience. Also, your professional indemnity insurance premium would be far lower, given your patient base, which may be lower as compared to a more experienced doctor. Moving on, I have a question from Rakhi who asks, do any of the insurers provide any special facilities to the family of medical staff or doctors treating COVID patients? Rakhi, unfortunately, today insurers do not have not come up with a specific service for doctors, whether it is for COVID or non-COVID. In fact, what I covered a while ago is that most insurers today are reluctant to issue COVID-specific plans for doctors. So, but that situation may change soon, right? As I mentioned a while ago, that IRD has recently come up with a regulation where more insurers are advised to come up with COVID-specific plans. And when that happens, when insurers launch, a lot of insurers launch plans, it is likely that they will try to differentiate their plans, and they may want to appeal to specific communities. Doctor is a very important community which are at the forefront of COVID. So it is likely when that happens, there would be insurers and providers who would come up with specific plans or specific features and support services for doctors. Moving on, the next question I have is from Midul Nigam, who asks, currently most of the insurers are offering max sum insured of 5 lakhs, whereas currently the expenses incurred on treatment is much higher. So can we take 2 separate policies from 2 different insurers? Midul, a very valid question. But this is my personal belief, and I'd like to share with the audience here, is that there is definitely a recency factor where we are placing a lot of emphasis to COVID plans, right? And there is a lot of interest to buy a COVID plan only, right? However, one should be conscious that 4 months ago, nobody thought about COVID as a big risk, right? And it suddenly emerged and we are all fighting against it. We do not know what will hit us tomorrow. And that is the purpose of insurance. The purpose of insurance is to be secured against the unknown, secured against what may hit us tomorrow. So if we try to optimize costs too much, because ultimately the only reason why you would buy a COVID-specific plan, in COVID-specific indemnity plan, as compared to a normal health insurance plan, is for saving cost, because your normal health insurance plans already cover COVID. So if we tend to optimize the cost too much, we leave ourselves exposed, right? So my recommendation to you would be to not get caught into this recency effect. Instead, look at a broader health insurance plan which is available for one and all, and get yourself a comprehensive cover. Today, there is no restriction, or the restrictions are reasonable enough for you to have due coverage. You can buy plans of 10 lakh, 20 lakh, 50 lakhs worth of health insurance for yourself. And in case your lifestyle requirements or your income requirements or your health requirements are like that, I would strongly recommend you to buy a health insurance cover of appropriate sum assured, rather than getting caught into buying multiple COVID plans to fill the gap, because you will get confused there. And just to reiterate, these plans will also cover COVID, right? But in case if you still get into a situation where you are covered under 2 COVID plans, these are indemnity plans. So in case you have an expense which is beyond the sum assured of one plan, you have a right and an eligibility to claim the balance claim amount from the other policy. So you can do that, but a better approach would be to buy a more comprehensive plan with the right sum assured under one plan. The next question I have is, what about the dental surgeon and dental surgery? Mr. Sachin, I'm not sure if I fully understand the question, but if your question is, can dental surgeons buy health insurance plans and they are eligible for it? Yes, they are. All dental surgeons, can buy health insurance plans. They can also buy professional indemnity insurance. We, in fact, are partners with the Indian Dental Association Gurgaon chapter, where we help their members buy professional indemnity insurance. So dental surgeons can definitely buy, professional indemnity insurance to cover themselves. When you look at dental surgery, and I'm not sure if I'm touching the right topic here, but in case you meant the coverage for dental surgery under a normal health insurance plan, then by and large, health insurance plans cover dental surgery only in case of accidents. And if it's required, subsequent to an accident, the usual dental surgeries are excluded under standard health insurance plans, unless the plan has a OPD coverage. In that case, dental treatment is also covered under the health insurance plan. Next, I have a question from Ravi. Ravi asks, has IRDA firmed up the guidelines for standardization of COVID products? What key benefits the standardized products likely to offer going forward? Thank you for bringing this up, Ravi. IRDA with guidelines for launching COVID products earlier this month, and that guideline referred to indemnity-based. Post that, IRDA has now come up with, and this is as per news report, IRDA has come up with guidelines for insurers to issue fixed benefit COVID plans. Those plans are still not launched, but it is likely that as insurers launch COVID specific plans in the coming days, they would be in the nature of fixed benefit plans rather than in the nature of indemnity plans. And for a variety of reasons that we discussed earlier, a fixed benefit COVID plan would be far more effective than an indemnity-based COVID plan. Firstly, for the purpose that you don't have to distinguish between OPD and hospitalization coverage. You can utilize the benefit for either. And B, to one of the questions asked earlier, it can also help you, cover for loss of income, which is likely to happen in case you get diagnosed with COVID. Next, I have a question from Navi Arora, who asks, are there individual COVID plans available as of now? COVID policies are being sold as group product. If available, then which insurer is selling the same? Navi, very valid question. Most okay, before I respond to this, I think one, this is maybe slightly more technical, but generally for a layman, individual plans have a very long, approval process, right? And group plans, have a slightly shorter approval process. So, given that the crisis suddenly sprung upon us, a lot of insurers immediately launched group plans, right? So that they could provide coverage to the general public. And individual plans are still work in progress. However, the group plans, the way they are structured today, they provide a lot of leeway for insurers to cover, slightly, more universal groups. For example, you may be a user of a wallet service, right? And you would be able to buy a COVID plan, because the product is structured for all wallet users, specific to that wallet company. Or you may be using a wellness app, right? And you may be a user of a wellness app or a wellness customer, and the insurer may have issued the plan or made the plan eligibility as all users of that wellness app or of the wellness company. So even though you are an individual user, because you are part of that group, you would be able to buy that plan. So as a user, the effective coverage for you is identical, and the implication for you as a user is not much. But yes, typically these are different plans. These are group plans versus an individual plan. Next, I have a question from Gajendra, who asks, insurers has not mentioned COVID treatment as an exclusion in their policy copy. However, still doctors have doubts in that part. So what should be the take-up for doctors? Not that the insurers have not mentioned COVID as an exclusion, not just that. In fact, IRDA has further emphasized that any kind of health insurance claim related to COVID, should be doubly checked before it is rejected by an insurer. So insurers are very, very careful not to reject a COVID claim. So doctors should be rest assured when they are treating their insured patients, their health insurance claim is unlikely to get rejected. The only condition that a health insurance plan today has to meet is that if it is a newly bought plan, it should get over the initial waiting period. Otherwise, all existing health insurance plans cover COVID, and there is no restriction whatsoever. Next, I have a question from Sanket, who asks, is the claim process different for doctors if they have been covered by a particular insurer for COVID? Absolutely not. There is no differential treatment, for doctors as compared to any other insured policyholders. The claim process is identical. If anything, I think the insurers would like to make the claim process only easier for doctors, as they launch more COVID plans. However, as on today, there is no differentiation, in the claim process for doctors or otherwise. It's identical. Next, I have a question from Rakhi, who asks, will the government fund the premium paid by doctors? Now, government in March did launch a plan for doctors, wherein they said that all medical practitioners get covered for a sum assured of 50 lakhs in case a medical practitioner dies due to accidental infection of COVID. Apart from that policy, government is not funding any other insurance policy for doctors, and that is the only life insurance kind of cover for COVID is what the government is offering to doctors. So in case you're buying the plan, either a individual health insurance plan or a professional indemnity insurance or a life insurance plan, you'll have to pay the full premium, and there is no government subsidy attached to it. Next, Gaurav asks, given that COVID treatment is not well defined, can a patient still sue the doctor for negligence? Absolutely. Now, if you try to understand from a patient psyche, right, and a lot of patients, and we all treat doctors with a lot of respect. A lot of patients would see doctors as the sole, sole person responsible for taking care of their health, right? Some of the patient may not understand the various intricacies involved in the fact that there is no defined treatment for COVID today, apart from the regular protocols that gets updated by various governments. So in case a patient is aggrieved or their family members are aggrieved, it is it is likely that they may sue the doctor. Now, whether or not it is justified is a secondary question. I think the first thing that we'll have to ask ourselves is, when we get a litigation from a patient, what should be our response? How can we get ourselves protected? Because the moment you are served a notice, the first thing that you have to do is respond to the notice, and that entails cost. So in that situation, it is important that you have an insurance policy that protects you for these kind of claims, for these kind of litigations. Whether or not these are justified, that is for the court to decide. But at the first place, you should have the wherewithal to respond to any kind of notice and take it to a natural conclusion in a court of law. Next, we have a question from Vishal, who asks, how best can we cover our family members for COVID? Vishal, that's an excellent question. So some of the points I highlighted earlier, that many insurance companies are not willing to offer COVID specific plans for doctors. However, that restriction does not apply to their family members, right? Um, in case doctors want to buy coverage for their family members, right? Because at the end of the day, this is a contagious disease, and if the doctors get it and if they go home, it is likely that their family members can also get infected. So we can buy those COVID-specific plans for family members. We can buy all the other health insurance plans available in the country also for family members. Ideally, you should buy a family floater health insurance on the health insurance side. When you think about life insurance, there is no restriction for doctors, and the doctor can buy a life insurance which would ultimately cover their family members. Uh, so I would advise you to buy ideally a family floater health insurance, and to supplement that, you can also buy COVID specific plans for your family members in case you are a doctor. Next, I have a question from Gaurav Jain, who asks, few hospitals come up with a home isolation plan in Delhi NCR. If due to unavailability of room, someone had to opt the home isolation plan, is there any COVID specific policy to cover such expenses? Uh, Very good question, Gaurav. Um, uh, Scarcity of beds is a real thing, and we are, reading about it every day. Um, if you think about the COVID-specific plans, which are fixed benefit in nature, right? They would cover both eventualities, whether you get hospitalized or whether you get a bed or whether you don't get a bed. If you think about the indemnity plans, there the basic trigger condition is that you should get hospitalized for 24 hours. Without that, the policy does not get activated. So you will not be able to get coverage for um hospitalization. You'll not be able to get coverage for home isolation under the indemnity-based plans. Uh, it is it is going to be difficult there. Ashwarya has the next question. Can the COVID protection plan be availed as an add-on in the existing DNO policy? Okay. So, Ashwarya, DNO is a completely different segment altogether. It is meant to be bought by companies to help them protect their directors and key officers. Um, in case a company wants to buy a COVID plan for covering their directors and officers, it is very much possible. So, for example, in case a hospital wants to do it, and because this is a webinar for doctors, I'm just giving an example of a hospital, but it is as applicable to an IT company. Let's say the hospital decides that they want to protect all the head of departments, their board and the management staff, and want to buy a COVID plan. It is very much possible to buy a specific tailor-made group plan for that, and we can design a plan where You can have different parts of cover. It could be about litigation, which is linked to DNO. It could be about health insurance. It could be about life. So all these three aspects can be covered for your key, executives, right? If you would so like. Next question I have is from Vipin Rai. At present, government and hospitals are focusing home treatment for mild COVID cases due to lack of hospitality infrastructure. So the expenses occur in home treatment. Would that be covered under COVID product? Uh, So Vipin, I'll just answer that briefly. In a fixed benefit plan, that coverage would be covered because a lump sum is paid to you. In case of an indemnity plan, that will be difficult because the indemnity plans require hospitalization. Uh, Next, I have a question from Navarun Day who asks, is death due to COVID-19 infection covered under term life insurance plans? Um, Excellent question, Navarun. Yes, the short answer is yes. And I would take the opportunity to also encourage a lot of people to actively think about life insurance. So today, if you think about life insurance plans, they have absolutely no exclusions except suicide, which is excluded also for the first year. From the second year onwards, even suicide gets covered under life insurance. The way our regulatory framework works, life insurance is one of the most customer-friendly plans, where in case death happens, a lump sum is paid to the family. So even if the death is due to COVID-19, uh, the plan would get triggered, and your family, your nominee, will get the lump sum amount to take care of their well-being. Next, I have a compliment from Vaishnavi. Thank you very much, Vaishnavi, for your compliment. Uh, Thereafter, I have a question from Madhu who asks, is there any group insurance policy covering COVID for the employees of a hospital which has an indemnity policy? Um, Excellent question, Madhu. Yes, very much. There are group insurance policies, group health insurance policies that cover COVID. Uh, in case your hospital already has an indemnity plan, is what I'm trying to understand. Uh, we can still design a supplementary plan to cover COVID. It can be a top-up insurance which could cover all other ailments, or it could be a top-up plan or a supplementary plan only to cover COVID. So under a group insurance plan, we get a lot of leeway to design a policy based upon the requirements of the corporate. So in case a hospital, wants to design a specific, a group health insurance plan for COVID, it is possible to do that. Next, I have a question again from Madhu who asks, do the existing health policies cover COVID? Yes, all the existing health policies cover COVID, whether it is your individual health insurance plan, whether it is your group health insurance plan. All health insurance plans which are offered in the country today cover COVID. There is no exclusion for COVID in any kind of health insurance plan. So it is covered. I think the question that you have to ask, Madhu, at the hospital or the company is the sum assured adequate? Given the rise of cost, as some of the viewers pointed out, is the sum assured adequate given the higher incidence of morbidity, right? People are likely to, people who are even healthy are likely to get infected by COVID. So we may see more claims coming. The claims cost may go up. So I think the question to ask is whether we're adequately covered. But otherwise, all health plans cover COVID. Then the question I have from Manoj is exclusion rider. If family member is COVID positive, then the families of HCP will be healthcare professional will be adversely affected. Most likely, if I get vivid, rest of my family's coverage will get voided. Uh, okay, let me I'm not sure if I understand the question correctly, but let me try to rephrase it and ask: if one of my family members is tested positive, are the plans for all other family members immediately void? The answer is no. Um, what does happen, right? When policies, when policy is issued, some companies have a restriction that the policy should not be issued to an individual who is who is in a cohabitation with a COVID positive patient, right? So at the time of issuance, if you are already staying with a COVID positive patient, then the policy should not be ideally issued to you. So if you've done a false declaration there, the claim would be void. However, if when you were hale and hearty and you bought COVID plans for yourself and family members, and you get unfortunately COVID positive, it does not make the policy of your family members void. Both of you can claim under the policy. That is the intent, because you paid two separate premiums, right? Um, so unless you have specifically agreed to a condition that in let's say in a family floater concept where only one claim will be payable, in case two different plans have been bought by two family members, uh, claim in one plan will not affect the claim in another plan, right? So these are mutually exclusive, and you can claim under both plans. Um, Next, I have a question from Nishant Rai, who asks, someone having travel insurance working in project work will get the COVID cover if admitted for corona. Uh, okay, so if somebody is working, if somebody is traveling under, somebody is traveling with a travel insurance policy, will COVID be covered or not? That is the question. So travel insurance covers medical emergencies. Um, in the current situation, most travel insurance policies, uh, are asking for declaration, are prohibiting travel with to countries which have COVID cases. In fact, so far India has not allowed international travel. In case you're talking about a situation where somebody was already traveling under a travel insurance policy, uh, and they get hospitalized, so under emergency medical hospitalization, they are likely to get their claims admitted in that respective country which they are in. And I will take this as the last question from Gajendra. Any package policy with doctors' professional indemnity for doctors, like DPI plus health plan plus COVID plan, where they can cover themselves from all around things? Gajendra, this is exactly the need of the hour, where a doctor should cover themselves comprehensively for professional negligence, for health risks, including COVID. We don't have a single plan which would cover all this risk, because these are very different product constructs. But what we are doing for the doctors we are serving today, we are giving them the options to buy all these plans at one place. In fact, we have an offer of a mobile app, which is available on SecureNow.app, where you can track all these plans at one place. So practically, even if you have different insurance companies, you have one provider, which is SecureNow, where you can track all the policies together, renew, pay for them, and whenever you want to make a claim, you just reach out to us, and we help you make that happen. With that, I would thank you very much for taking the time out and attending this webinar. It was my privilege to answer your queries. I look forward to talking to you soon again. In case you want to reach out to us, please do call us at 96966 or reach out to us over email at support@securenow.in. Thank you very much.